Welcome back to another video, and if you're new, welcome to the channel. I'm RBC Mr. Rhodes. In this video, I want to kind of go back to how my old devlogs were, of where I just showed what I worked on in the past week or month, and I want to do that. I want to show you my progress, but I also want to talk about my experience with scope creep and how it's led to what I'm working on now, and then a little sneak peek into the future of my game and my channel. So let's get right into the video. So what I've been working on in this past week or two has been a new area that originally that wasn't going to be in the game, but after realizing that I was stuck in a loop of expanding the scope of my game, and that the scope of my game was becoming too broad and too big for just me and just what this game was supposed to be, that I ended up scaling back the scope of my game to better fit my original vision of the game. And the biggest thing that I kept adding on to my game was I kept adding new biomes and new, I guess you could say, story beats, even though my game doesn't really have a big story influence on it. But I kept adding these new areas that would need new enemies, new tile sets, and I kept doing this, and for a while I was holding up adding these new areas, but then I realized that if I stay on the path that I was on, that and just kept working on this big project, that this game would be another 2 years or whatever, or it'd never release. So I decided to get rid of a lot of all these new biomes that I decided to get rid of, and then just focus on, okay, so my game, the last, I guess, biome of the game would be the biome I'm working on now. So I'm quite close to finishing the production of my game before I just have to polish it and add in and finish the dialogue for all my NPCs and stuff like that. But so the new biome I'm working on is a dungeon that branches off of the lake, and like I said, I originally didn't have this biome, but after I scaled back on all these biomes, I decided that the final boss would be in the lake, but I also wanted the player to not end the game strictly just all in water, because the lake biome, that is a huge section, and the game obviously also has a large portion that is not in the water, and the water isn't my main focus. So I added the dungeon just to give time for the player to be out of the water, and to maybe introduce some new abilities that would aid in the final boss that is in the lake. And that way, because before I added this new section with these new abilities, fighting the boss I had in mind would be a lot harder without these new abilities of this new biome before the final boss. Is a needed break from the water, and can kind of get the player ready for this final boss that is going to be in the game. And just a quick hint on what that boss will be. He's a fish dragon mix of that the fish folk actually worship. So that's just a quick hint of how powerful this new boss, or this final boss, is going to be. And other than working on this new biome, the dungeon that has a mini boss in it, not a full boss, just a mini boss that is later introduced as just a normal enemy, but that's pretty much the whole premise of the dungeon. It also has interesting NPCs that are prisoners in this dungeon that will have their own backstory that you can kind of go through and learn from talking to them. And the overall atmosphere of this dungeon will be unique, because I am hoping to add in a shader that makes it really dark, and that there's limited light that the player has to rely on, which would be from the limited light coming off of the player, and then just torches placed around. So I'm hoping I can pull that off in the way that I envision it. But other than that, now I want to quickly talk about where I'm going. Well, I kind of touched on where I'm going with this game, and that it is nearing the end, and I'm hoping for early 2025 release. That's my plan in Q1 of the year. But I also want to touch on where this channel is going to go, because once I release this game, I'm gonna focus on more smaller games that won't take as long. Maybe like kind of micro games is the best way to put it. I'm gonna work on like games that like would take me a month or 2 months to make, and then get those games out, just so I can get better at game development more rapidly, and that I can start just putting out more projects to have people see and play. But on top of that, I'm also going to have another project that I'm going to be starting that will take, I'm thinking, around a year to make. So I'm going to be making this year-long project alongside much simpler month-long projects that I can talk about in my videos, so I can bring more content to you guys and to the world to see my progress, and so I can progress more as a game developer. And if you want to see the latest game development tip video, that'll be in the top left corner. And if you want to see the latest devlog video, that'll be in the top right corner. And as always, thank you all for watching, and this is RBC Mr. Rhodes signing off for now.